I pulled up to my driveway that night and saw two elderly figures sitting on the porch, shivering under the porch light. My heart stopped. It was my parents, outside my own house, locked out, while my in-laws were inside laughing, drinking, and throwing a party I never approved of. What I did next? Made sure they never disrespected my parents again. If you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and standing up for what's right, you'll feel this story in your soul. So hit that subscribe button, like the video, and tell me in the comments, how far would you go to protect your family? Because tonight's story isn't just about revenge, it's about respect. I grew up in a small town. My parents worked their entire lives. My dad was a mechanic, my mom a school cook. We didn't have much, but we had love. When I got older, I moved to the city, went to college, worked my way up, and eventually bought a modest but comfortable home. My parents were proud. They'd visit every few weeks, bringing homemade food and stories from back home. Then I met Emily. She was charming, smart, and from what you'd call an upper-class family. Her parents, especially her mother, Linda, made sure I knew I wasn't good enough for their daughter. Still, Emily and I made it work, or so I thought. When we got married, I noticed a subtle shift. Emily began adopting her parents' tone. Little jabs about my background, my parents' lack of sophistication, my blue-collar manners. I brushed it off, thinking marriage stress would fade, but things only got worse. Linda, her mother, was the real puppet master. She'd show up uninvited, redecorate rooms without asking, and treat my parents like unwelcome guests whenever they visited. Her line was always the same. They just make me uncomfortable. I should have set boundaries sooner, but love makes you blind. It happened on a Friday in December, the coldest night of the year. I had been working late on a project and texted Emily to say I'd be home around 9. She replied, "No problem, we're just having a little get-together." I didn't think much of it. But when I turned onto my street, I saw my driveway full of luxury cars. Music blasted from my house, loud, obnoxious, expensive laughter spilling into the night. My first thought was, oh great, another one of her parents' parties. But then I saw them. Two small figures sitting near the porch. My mom wrapped in her shawl, my dad rubbing his hands together, trying to stay warm. My heart dropped. "Mom, Dad, what are you doing out here?" My mom's voice trembled. "Oh, we didn't want to bother anyone, dear. Your wife's mother said the house was full, and they didn't want extra shoes in the foyer." I froze. They weren't even allowed inside my own house. I looked at their hands, red from the cold. My father's breathing is shallow. He's had lung issues for years. Something inside me snapped. I didn't knock. I didn't announce myself. I walked straight through the front door, and what I saw inside made my blood boil. My living room had been transformed into a full-blown cocktail party. Linda was standing on the rug I'd bought with my first paycheck, holding a glass of champagne like she owned the place. Emily was laughing with her father near the fireplace. And my parents? Their coats and gifts were dumped on a chair by the door. When Linda saw me, she smiled. The fake kind. "Oh, you're home early. We were just entertaining a few friends." I said nothing, just stared. Then I asked, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Why are my parents outside?" The room went silent. You could hear the ice clinking in the glasses. Linda's smile faltered. "Oh, well, we didn't have space, and..." I cut her off. "You didn't have space? In my house?" Emily stepped forward. "Honey, please don't make a scene. It's just one night." I turned toward her, my voice low but sharp. "One night? My father's 70. He's out there freezing while you're drinking champagne in my home?" Her friends looked uncomfortable. Good. They should have been. I walked to the door, opened it, and helped my parents inside. They resisted at first, whispering, "It's okay, son," but I said firmly, "No, it's not." I sat them near the fireplace, brought them blankets, and then turned back to the room full of stunned faces. "Party's over," I said. Linda blinked. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Everyone out." People exchanged glances, hesitant. Emily hissed, "You're embarrassing me." I looked at her and said quietly, "You embarrassed yourself when you let this happen." No one moved. so I made it easy. I walked to the circuit breaker panel in the hallway and flipped the main switch. The lights went out. Music stopped. Silence. I stood there in the dark and said, "You have 60 seconds to leave before I call the cops for trespassing." There was a rustle of coats, the clinking of glasses being set down, and murmured apologies as people scrambled for the door. When I turned the lights back on, only Emily and her parents remained, their faces pale with fury. Linda hissed, "You're overreacting. They're just old people. They don't belong at these kinds of events." That was the final straw. I said, "You're right. They don't belong at this event, but neither do you, because this isn't your house." Then I pointed to the door. "Get out." Emily stared at me, jaw open. "You're choosing them over me?" I didn't hesitate. "I'm choosing respect over humiliation. You can decide which side you're on." They left, slammed the door behind them. I wish I could say that was the end, but revenge, the kind that really teaches a lesson, takes time. The next day, I called my lawyer. I explained what had happened and how my in-laws had been using my property for their business parties for months. Turns out, they'd even listed my address on one of their catering invoices. That was all the legal ground I needed. I changed the locks, updated the security system, and removed Emily's name from the joint account. I even froze the home equity access card her mother used for emergencies. When Emily came storming back, demanding explanations, I handed her a small box. It had her wedding ring inside. I said, "You chose their world over ours, so go live in it." She tried to argue, saying her parents didn't mean harm, but I'd heard enough excuses to last a lifetime. 2 weeks later, she moved back with her parents. And within a month, her mother's catering company got audited. Apparently, someone had sent the tax board a little anonymous tip about their off-the-books events. Was it petty? Maybe. But when I saw my parents smiling, safe and warm at dinner that night, I didn't feel a single ounce of guilt. That night changed me. I realized love means nothing without respect, and family means nothing if you can't defend the people who raised you. My parents never complained. They even told me not to be angry at Emily. But I couldn't forget the sight of my mom's trembling hands, or my dad coughing in the cold while strangers partied inside his son's home. So I built new boundaries and new peace. These days, my house is quieter, smaller, and warmer, not because of the heat, but because of who's welcome inside.